Yeah, well, it was a bit of a shock, to be honest, because we were looking right there for the first 45 minutes, and then see they banged in a quick one at the end. It was actually faster at 2 of the 3 sectors, so I was a bit surprised that we actually managed to hang on in the end.
When you went out early and you perhaps thought you had it in the bag, you parked the car, but you were forced to have another shot out of that.
Yeah, we thought the track conditions were going to be best just after it rained, and the air temperature was still cool, and it looked that way for most of the session. Then it sort of cooled a bit at the end, and while I think the car was making a little bit more horsepower and I was managing to change gears a bit quicker, I think we'd already smoked the tyres off it by then, so we didn't have anything left in the tank. So it's just lucky that it managed to stay up there.
How would you describe the conditions in this session?
It was the track conditions were quite good. The track was cool, so there was plenty of grip. And the air temperature was good, so the turbo cars make a lot of power. I thought we'd probably do it at 26 if the conditions were right, and we sort of got there. So yeah, I thought it was quite a good little session.
Pass the mic to Glenn. Glenn, a great result, but I have to say, with all due respect to Steve, that it was just about a fairy tale result, wasn't it?
Yeah, just ran out of talent on the last sector, that was all. But no, it's great to come up here. Last year we came up here and we were a bit underdone, as in car-wise and team-wise and probably driver-wise, to tell you the truth. And this year we've come back with a really strong team, really strong car, and driving with my old partner again, Neil Crompton, and also Mark King. So that's so far over the weekend it's been really good. The car's out of the, if you call it, out of the truck, has been great straight on the circuit first session, and we've had very little problems. But I remember last year going into the race, our car had very little problems, and then had all the problems in the race, and Bathurst has had all the problems going to the race, and then had a great race. So, I'm looking forward to tomorrow. Actually, it's a long race. We've got 3 drivers naturally this year. Last year, I remember on the Sunday morning when Neil and I were on the way to the circuit, I said to Neil, "Do you realise we've got to do 6 hours each? Because there's only 2 of us." He says, "No shit, Sherlock." When you work that out, only just today. But this year we've got 3, so we can break it up a bit more, and we look forward to the opportunity tomorrow to hopefully bang one on the podium.
So what was the story of those last few laps out there this afternoon? Just absolutely ringing it for everything you could get?
Yeah, you naturally in qualifying any time, and any time you're in a race car in that situation, you try and get the best out of it and get the best out of yourself. And I was pretty happy with my lap, and I'm pretty happy with the result we're being on the front row, because it's important, an event like this, to be able to be up the front, and particularly if it's wet in the morning, and if it's a standing start, there's lots of things can happen further down the grid between the start line and the first corner. So we're in a reasonably good position to start the race and see how we go from there.
And you, Jason, nice to bring the car in P3 for Bob?
Yeah, no, it was obviously very good, but I was just going to say, Glenn, I remember you turning up last year for that race, complaining about how far you got to drive with your slippers and your little blanket. So, are you going to bring them this year, or are you right to go?
Yeah, I won't be getting it last day.
Yeah. Neil's going to start, you're going to sleep in, right? Yeah. Very happy with the car. Because Steve Glennie had never driven here before, we've obviously in practice concentrated on letting him have some miles, and during the qualifying session I was still improving myself. Hadn't really got the most out of the car, there's no doubt about that, but we're very happy with it. It wasn't a high risk sort of lap, but we had a bit of a go, and it was enough to be third on the grid, so congratulations to Steve. It was a very good lap, but tomorrow's a long day. Steve's obviously very competitive. Bob's been here a number of times before, so hopefully we can do a good job. He's obviously done a bit of production car stuff before, but he's never been to Bathurst before. But with his first 3 or 4 laps, he was only a couple of seconds off, so he's picked it up pretty quickly. He's sitting there watching the DVD, and he's obviously watched a few races in the past here. He's picked it up pretty quick. In the wet, he was a bit of a weapon, he's got the thing sliding sideways, backwards, inside out. I mean, he's obviously used to that sort of condition, so it certainly doesn't faze him, and I think that during the race he'll be quite strong. I mean, together, Steve and I, and obviously Bob will have a go as well, so it'll be good.
And Clark, you didn't get pole position. You were 5th of the VIP Petford's team, but still under the qualifying lap record from last year. It's a pretty hot pace this year, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely had to step up this year, and we improved. It's been a good team. Start to the race now.
I want to ask, I guess, Steve, since you claimed the time, what do you think about these production car times? It wasn't so long ago, I guess, that you would have been looking at that in the outright touring car championship, and the under 26s in a production car, high 26s is pretty quick, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what I was just saying about Bargs. It wasn't that long ago when 26 at the first 1,000 was actually quite a respectable time. So for a production-based car that you screw a set of tyres and a set of brakes on, it's quite impressive. I love driving cars, so it's one of those cars that the harder you drive it, the more you put it to the fence, the faster it seems to go. So which is the way I enjoy doing it.
And the other point you might make, Glenn, is that not only are you driving production cars with all the inherent, I guess, compromises of a production car, but you're going to go 50% further than you do in October.
Yeah, that's right. Probably the only difference between now and October, how you approach driving these cars, is that you've got to realise that they are still production cars. They do have a few freedoms, but you still got to manage the brakes, still got to manage the gearboxes, because you still got those synchros and things like that. So over 12 hours, you still got to keep those sort of things in your mind. Where in the V8 land, you just drive as a sprint car in a sprint race, and you just torch everything to get the best lap time for the whole 161 laps. So it is a different thought pattern, but it's a very enjoyable part of motor racing, is being involved in that thought pattern, being involved behind the scenes with the guys, with the strategies that you go through, because there is 12 hours and there's twice as much strategy things come into it than there does in the October event here.
Bugs, do you agree with that? We always talk about long distance races and the need to pace the cars and pace the drivers, but the flag falls, it often seems to go out the window.
No, I don't think so. I think obviously in the 1,000 race here, you do, as Glenn said, you drive the wheels off it all day long. From lap 1 to the last lap, you just absolutely on the limit all day long. Obviously with this, there's a lot of things that come into this race. I mean, there's the traffic, the weather is obviously going to play a role in it tomorrow. It's the tyre management, it's the brake management, it's all that sort of stuff, wheel bearings and gearboxes and engines, and you've just got to nurse the car and keep something alive for 12 hours. So that's part of the, as Glenn mentioned, the enjoyment of the race. I really enjoyed last year, in a bit of a battle with people, but you're firing through some of the slower cars and you're mixing up the traffic, and it really makes an interesting sort of race. And I think that that's what's so attractive to a lot of drivers.
And a few more cars on the grid too.
A few more cars on the grid and a few quality cars that are potentially capable of winning the race. But you're gonna go to the toilet early this year, mate, or are you gonna? What do you reckon? He's all right.
Yeah. Well, it was almost a 12-minute race for us last year, wasn't it? It was it was pretty quick. But we got the car last year a little bit, as probably same as Glenn, a little bit underprepared with everything, and the gearbox was a bit of an unknown. And we didn't know how many Ks had done before the race, and it eventually failed. So this year we have a new box going last night. We've got a new drivetrain, we've got I think new turbo on the car. So this year we're quite a bit better prepared. And I think, as a few of the older guys have pointed out, it's when the flag drops, you can get a bit excited and just start to drive the wheels off it. And certainly myself and Ricciardo were doing some pretty good times at the start of last year's race, and I think our philosophy will be a lot different this year, and just make sure we're there at the end.
This is an open question, guys. The qualifying session was amalgamated. It was to be a 50-50 split between the faster and slower cars in the race. With everyone being thrown in together for the one session, did you guys have any serious problems with traffic while trying to settle that?
Well, I did myself. I got a couple of clear laps at the start, but I think obviously the logical reason for that was that no one wanted to see Yaris on pole. Really, let's be fair. If it rained after the first 50%, no one wants to see that. I don't know about you guys.
I don't know if it did get pole, I'd hate to be sitting in on the start. Unfortunately, I did on my first and second set of tyres. We managed to get a bit of traffic, but look, at the end of the day, I had a very clean lap at the end, so we're pretty happy with that. As it panned out, the hour was probably a little bit too long. They probably could have just left it as half an hour, but that's the way it goes.
Open question, guys. Before this week, everyone's been tipping the Mustang to take pole position. Were you guys surprised it wasn't a bit closer?
Who was tipping it?
Everyone. Oh, well, sorry, Jase. A lot.
What, the three blokes at Broadmeadows? No, I don't think anyone, look, it's a good thing to see it out there. Hopefully it goes well, but it certainly adds an interest to the race. But these Evos are very, very hard to beat, I think, around here in this sort of this format. So it's definitely going to be a race and a battle between the Evos, I suspect.